Google's market value has surpassed 3 trillion. These past few days, many people have been discussing that they believe Google is very likely to become the next AI giant with a market value exceeding 5 trillion. As for Google, I've always felt particularly conflicted about it. I've shared this twice during my live streams. I have always believed that as a giant in AI infrastructure, Google is definitely extremely powerful. Not only does it have the TPU chip, but it also has software advantages. Its overall strength and its large model capabilities. Now, it's even more firmly established as the world's #1 in the field of multimodal large models. Although OpenAI's intelligence in text is very strong and it keeps competing with Anthropic, when it comes to multimodality, Google really has no rivals worldwide. Even though ByteDance is catching up quickly, it's still just a somewhat distant second place. But I believe that the gap can be closed in the future. So Google's dilemma is that, in the long run, as a giant in the world of AI infrastructure, Google is absolutely formidable. But in the short term, a large portion of its tens of billions in profits comes from its search business. Of course, up to now, although we've seen a decline in search volume, there hasn't been any significant downturn in revenue or profit. I think this may be because Google previously had a lot of room for optimization. In the past, it didn't particularly pursue efficiency in its business operations. At the same time, we can see that search might face a situation where, as we previously predicted, my view is that Google may experience a decline in profits for a year or two and then be picked up again by new AI products. However, with the explosive popularity of several AI products like Nano Banana, I think the success of Nano Banana is not just ordinary. For example, although Solar was very popular at the time, it wasn't accessible to the general public, whereas Nano has already become the #1 downloaded app today, surpassing ChatGPT. Although ChatGPT currently has 700 million monthly active users, and it's definitely hard for Nano to compete in the short term, I think its overall recognition, usage, and popularity right now have absolutely allowed Google to score another win on the AI application rankings. So, not only does Google have the foundational infrastructure and chip software infrastructure, but it also has chips and applications. At the same time, when it comes to older applications like email and maps, Google is also extremely comprehensive. So this lays the foundation for Google's $3 trillion valuation. So now looking at it, Google's medium and long-term AI development is progressing very rapidly. This further validates our previous viewpoint that AI, as a productivity tool, is extremely powerful in terms of overall efficiency. Therefore, the possibility is indeed growing that Google, in the commercial implementation of the new generation of AI products, may be able to perfectly, or if not perfectly, at least to a large extent, make up for the impact on its search cash flow caused by AI, as well as offset the effects on its other businesses, particularly the impact on its profit growth rate. So it's possible that we won't see a sudden steep decline followed by a rise from AI products, because the commercial rollout of AI products is happening faster than we previously expected. So to sum up, in the short term, I think Google will definitely continue to perform very well, especially under the leadership of Nano Banana. So this further brings us back to a very important point I made earlier. I believe that in the era of AI, its productivity is truly unparalleled. At the same time, when it comes to major companies, on one hand, they have extremely strong resources, but on the other hand, there is a lot of randomness and uncertainty in how their products are implemented. So in this process, I think it's very difficult for us to make perfect predictions. That's because this involves their organizational capabilities, their product capabilities, and the improvement of AI large model intelligence. But my conclusion is that in the short term, I am very optimistic about Google. So for Google, I think a market cap of 3 to 5 trillion is possible. Will Google be the first company to break 5 trillion? If we're talking about the first company to break 5 trillion, then in the 5 trillion club, I think NVIDIA has a very high probability of getting there. What about Google? Given how impressive its recent products have been and the momentum it has right now, I think the probability of Google joining the 5 trillion club is getting higher and higher. Now, coming back to our current point, I was actually quite optimistic about Meta before. Of course, Meta's stock has almost doubled since April. As for Google, after 2 years of underperforming compared to the overall Magnificent Seven, this year, Google has finally achieved a 70% increase in its stock price. So coming back to this, I think in the short term, especially in the next 6 months, I am now more optimistic. Compared to Meta, I used to think that Meta had a lot of user data, and especially last year and the year before, it was definitely the leader in open source AI with Llama. Of course, the situation has changed dramatically this year, especially now that Meta's market cap has reached 2 or 3 trillion. At this moment, I think Meta still needs to be observed further. In particular, regarding its foundational AI large models, no matter how many talented people they've recruited, does gathering a lot of capable people together necessarily mean they can create a great product? In fact, the answer is actually no. At the same time, I feel that after Meta added AI to its AI products and all its other products, none of them have demonstrated particularly strong capabilities. Meta has almost no breakout hits when it comes to AI native products. So compared to Google, I think Google is clearly more valuable than Meta and has even greater potential. Of course, if you compare it to ByteDance, then I absolutely think ByteDance is seriously undervalued.